All right, looks like we are live once again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Let me know if you can hear me just fine, and let me know also where you're watching from. We already have Francesco watching from Singapore, and let me know everyone else in the stream. There's only a few viewers. I know there's quite a few people actually signed up, so I will wait for a few moments before starting. If you're a usual viewer of my live streams, you know that I normally do it on Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month. Today is obviously not Tuesday, it's Wednesday, and the reason why I'm doing it today instead of the usual one, it's because yesterday I had to remove one tooth. I got a tooth extracted, and so I'm still a little bit in pain. In fact, today I'll try to keep it short, not too long. But yeah, it's okay. I just did that, and now I'm here with all of you guys. We have Partha from Chennai, or Sarathi. I'm not sure what the name is, but sorry for that. But hey, good to have you here as well. So yeah, that's it. This is why we have this on Wednesday rather than on Tuesday. From next month, and I'll resume the usual schedule with the live streaming on the first Tuesday of the month. And from this week also I resumed the normal posting of the videos. I took a couple of weeks off YouTube to get refreshed, and now I'm more than ready to get back into it and see, and start posting the videos. And don't miss next week video, because it will be the biggest collaboration I've ever had on this channel so far. I had other 4 DevOps YouTuber collaborating with me on this, so I'm super excited about this video. Don't miss it next week. All right, we do have a few people in the stream. We'll start very soon. I'll just want to mention that, so I'll have these 2 parts in this streaming. The first part will be more of a demo of Codespaces running on an iPad and using Copilot there as well. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing while I'm doing it, feel free to ask in the chat. I now have a 3-monitor setup, so I will be able to see the chat as I'm doing stuff, differently from what I used to have before, so feel free to ask. Also, at the end, after that, I'll have a Q&A, so if you have any other question about Codespaces that didn't fit what I'm showing you in a moment, just feel free to ask that after the demo. I also have some kind of sore throat, so bear with me for my voice. All right, so let me show you the setup I have right now. So as you can see, I'm gonna use my iPad over here because I want to show you Codespaces on iPad, and I have my iPad mirrored on my screen. So this is what I will be streaming, and in fact you can see that I have here the iPad on the screen, and I can move it and everything. So I'm using the iPad right here. I do have a keyboard connected to it, not because I need to, but because it's much more convenient using a keyboard while typing on my iPad rather than on the on-screen keyboard that takes up half of the screen. And I will use the mouse, and in fact this is the MX Master 3 from Logitech, and it's very cool because you can connect it to 3 devices at the same time. So I have it on my device 1 is my computer. You can see the mouse is moving there. But if I switch to device 2, now you can see, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see it on screen here. You can see that I have the small cursor moving on the iPad, and I can move everything on the iPad with the mouse. As I said, I use the keyboard and the mouse because of convenience, but you could use everything just on the iPad screen. It's just it takes longer time. So yeah, this is my current setup for this demo iPad. This is just a normal iPad, is not an iPad Pro or anything, just a normal iPad, the keyboard and the mouse. With that said, this is the mirrored screen of the iPad. Let's start. So I want to use this repo, and this repo is my website, as you may have seen, CoderDave.io. So if you haven't checked it out, go and check it out. I have the all the source for the website in here, and it's I can click on it, and this is just ASP.NET MVC, ASP.NET Core application. And as you can see, I also have a Docker file, so we can try that as well. Now, if I want to open this application in Codespaces, I can just go on this code button over here. And what you normally would have is the cloning and the download and so on and so forth. Now with Codespaces, you also have this new Codespaces tab in which you can launch, from which you can launch your Codespaces. If you don't see this on your repo, it's because Codespaces is currently available only on Enterprise Cloud and or GitHub Organizations. Or if, like me, you were previously in the beta access of Codespaces, you still have it available for your private accounts, for your individual user account. But as far as I know, there is no new additions to the beta program, so you can't access the beta program right now. So if you don't have it on your individual account, you only can use the dev editor, the web editor. Sorry, that is the one that you can access pressing the full stop key on your keyboard. All right, so we're here. Let's click on New Codespaces, and what it does, as the name says, will create a new Codespaces for me. As you can see, this will be super fast because this is one of the main things that has been changed from the previous Codespaces. Before in the beta access, it was quite slow to connect and to create because you had to connect to create the image from scratch. But in here, as you can see, it's already up and running, and we have everything here. It's already installing .NET Core. I don't know if you've seen in the terminal because it detected that this is a .NET Core application, so it's doing so. And in fact, if I go in the extension page, you can see that I do have this C# extension automatically installed by Codespaces. As you can see, and if you know Codespaces, you knew this as well. This is basically, it looks really like VS Code. It's much faster now. We have by default this opening of the README file in preview. In my case, it's nothing there, so nothing too much to see. But what is really cool, and what I love this, and of course I don't think I will recommend using it on an iPad on daily basis, day in day out. But if you need to do a quick change, and you are on the go and you are in a coffee shop or wherever, you can use this to make a change of your code and potentially push it to production. So the first thing I want to see is that if I open a file, I do have the complete syntax highlighting on Codespaces, but this is kind of expected. But what I want to try to do, as I mentioned before, this is just my website. I want to try and debug this website. Remember that we are running this on an iPad. But since we are running it on Codespaces, what I can do is this run and debug. I can select the .NET Core, and of course it failed because I didn't open the proper, let me hide the keyboard. I didn't open the proper project. So I can type, I guess it's project. Yeah, select project, and I'm gonna select my CS proj here. So when I do that, now if I click run and debug, I should be able, install this. This installs the debug components of the C# application. When it's done, I should be able to run and debug this one. Okay, this is interesting. I love the, live streaming for this. Let's delete this file that is being created by by error, and let's try to run and debug this again. Okay, so we do .NET Core, and again, it cannot create the debug configuration. I don't want to create the configuration manually because I want to show you that it's actually fairly easy to do. So what I want to do is, let's go back to the repository. Let's remove these. I clicked too fast. Let's remove this code space, and let's just create a new one. Because what I want to show you is that if you do this correctly, you don't have to do anything manually. So again, we are setting up the code space. This will take only a few seconds. And the reason why I didn't do it before is because I was talking you through this setup. But if you pay attention in a second when the code spaces starts, you will have on top here the selection of the project. This should happen in a moment. There you go. You can select the project here. So when you select the project there, and once again, I missed that. So let me go again in the palette, select project from OmniSharp. Let's select again the proper one. And when the post create command is complete, we should be able to debug this after installing the missing debugging components. And while it does that, I'm drinking some water. So in fact, now if I go here, I should be able to see, yeah, now you see that my launch JSON file has the complete configuration for my debugging that it was missing before. You could do it again, and if you do it manually, but then this does it for you. So why doing it manually? And recreating the code space was really cool, quick. So now when I go here, you can see that I have the different configurations. So I will debug it with, of course, .NET Core. And when I start debugging it, I should be able to run these. If this decide to launch, I don't need the JSON. Tonight is one of those nights, guys. I love this. Let's open these. Let's try it again to debug this thing. .NET Core is trying for some reason to create the configuration for me again that I do have. And okay, for some reason it decided that it doesn't want to run my application. This is not how I was expecting this to go, if you can imagine. Let's try again. Maybe we can be .NET Core. It's funny because it does launch the configuration for a second, but it doesn't really do much else, which is interesting. And in fact, it's not forwarding any port. I could do this from the terminal. In fact, let's do this from the terminal. If I can hide this. So this is one of the things I actually hate. It's because of the iPad keyboard. So let's go to the source folder. What do we have here? We can run it here. .NET run. cd CoderDave .NET run. All right. So now it's building my application. Not really sure why it's not trying to debug it from the proper menu, but as you can see, it's still it's still working. My application is running now on port 5000, and we can see that automatically port 5000 and 5001 have been opened for me in auto forwarding. I can go here and click on any of these to be able to access my application. So let's try and run it on the port 5000. And as you can see, it's connecting to the port 5001 because it's redirect for HTTPS. So let's open the 5001. As you can see, the redirection between ports doesn't work very well because it's going on the it's going to localhost. So if you're trying to connect directly to localhost, it's not working properly, and seems like this is not working properly as well. So I guess this is, as I mentioned before, one of those nights in which nothing will work. It's funny because the process is actually working, so I'm not entirely sure why this is not picking up the port. I've seen this happening already before, and it was because the application was not running. So we can try and stop the application and see if anything changed. All right, let's try to restart it once again. Let's open in browser, and it's the redirection again. And let's open the port 5001. All right, never mind. Let's do something different. And I will show you later the debugging experience on a different application. But what I wanted to do here also is showing you the Copilot. Copilot is, of course, an extension of VS Code, but since this is basically kind of VS Code, you can try and install it here, and it requires you to sign up because you need to sign up because of the beta program. Copilot is still in beta as well, so you can sign in into your GitHub account, which needs to be, of course, in the beta program. I happen to be in the beta program, so when I do that, my account is already linked, and as you can see, I could sign in. Now, remember that Copilot is currently being trained on languages like Python, like Ruby, like PHP, not necessarily on .NET. But what I want to show you here is that it works fairly well also in .NET. So let's go back to the screen, and for example, let's go here on the home controller, and let's try to do something like this. So one of the ways Copilot works is that you can add a comment, and based on the comment, it will try to generate for you the code. So let's say I want to send an email to the user, right? When I go on a new line, you can see that I already have automatically the signature of the method. But what I want to do is, of course, send an email. So let's say I want to return an iAction result, and I want to call this send email. As soon as I do this, and I don't open the emoji signature, I should be able to what did I spell wrong? Okay, it doesn't write my signature. Okay, so this is obviously not what I wanted to do. Did I install the right extension? Yep. So let's try to open this again. And seems like this is not working as well, which is pretty cool because I've done this demo this morning and obviously it was working. Send email. Okay, so what do you think if we go away from this repo and we try something that it's different? Let's try another repo. This is another application I have. It's a Node.js application. So some of the problems we are facing now with the .NET Core, for some reason, we shouldn't see them here. So this is even faster. Container has been built. We'll be connected in a second. And here we go. All right, so this is it's a simple Node.js application that just says hello from CoderDave, hello from YouTube, and so on and so forth. Let's try to debug this one this time. So run and debug. We do Node.js. Now the debugging experience is actually working finally, and it's running on port 2345. So now I can try and open this one, and we do have the hello YouTube. So this at least works. What I can also do is, as you can see here, I have these other requests. So is this /new. Let's see if I insert a breakpoint over here, and I access this by putting /new. So I can go here and add the new. And when I do so, if I go back, you can see that there's a big red dot here, meaning that we are stopped at a breakpoint. And in fact, if I go back here, I can see that I stopped at the breakpoint in the correspondence of where the line is, and you can see that I can have the the full debugging experience for Node.js. And if I run it again, I do have now the different message. So let's change these and let's say hello live streaming. Let's save. Let's restart the debug. And now that I go here and I can remove this new part, and we have the message changed. Let's stop the debug and let's try to add the Copilot extension here. There we go, install. It's installing. Once again, I need to sign in my GitHub account and allow. And of course, agree with the terms and condition that everyone should read. So now if I go back over here, let's close this one. I should be able to do something with my Copilot. No, I'm not a huge user of Node.js, but let's try. Let's say I want to respond to a post request. So if I do this, you can see that automatically it suggests me to add this if request method is post. I can set the response header, and all I'm doing here is pressing the tab button on my keyboard, and you can see that everything is being suggested and created by Copilot directly. So it's setting the response header, is setting the response right, and we can end the response, and that's it. Now, this is, I think, working pretty well. Node.js is one of the languages GitHub Copilot is being trained on. I'm not sure why the C# part didn't work as well. It was working this morning, but I guess it's the live effect, right? So, and again, this works pretty well. I would not recommend that you write the entire application just with Copilot if you have access to. It still, requires some, interaction. And I would say you can also try and check if anything can be optimized or streamlined. That doesn't necessarily mean that the AI is doing a good job, or is doing a good job but not the best job possible. So that is still to be considered. All right. Any question on this? I'm very curious to know why the .NET part is not working. So if you have any question, feel free to ask, and I will try to go back to the .NET application we were checking out before and see why it doesn't work. But again, as I said, if you have any question, feel free to ask. So here I am on my previous repository. Funny that I don't see the other code spaces. So what I can do is go to your code spaces and check. Because it was not that one, it was the CoderDave.io. I forgot. So let's delete this, and I will try once again to create that. So let's go back. Any question in the meantime? No. Okay. It's so my username and slash CoderDave.io. And let's try for the last time to create a new code spaces, and let's see how it goes. I'll try to be quick this time and press the select project, which I've done before, so I'm not really sure why it didn't create the proper configuration for me. All right, let's try and do it. And okay, here we have it. Let's click on the project. All right, done that. It should ask me in a second to set up the debugging bits, and there we go. So yes, and of course, if you want to restore the dependencies, please feel free to do so. Oh, we do have a question. So Francesco's saying the Copilot seems really cool. When do you recommend us to use it? What are the limitation boundaries? So yeah, first of all, this is still in technology preview. So you need to be part of the beta access to be able to use it. I'm not sure if and how many new users will be onboarded. I have no idea about this, but being a technology preview means that it's not 100% infallible. It's still something that we and GitHub are working on. So it's recommended for using for testing it out basically, and it's not recommended for use in production applications because it's still not mature enough. One of the limitation is that if you think how it works, how it's been created, it basically uses the OpenAI, I guess, libraries, and it's been trained against hundreds of thousands of open source repositories for the different languages I mentioned before. And what that means is that it's trying to interfere some of the most common or the most used patterns it sees in those open source repositories to create the code for you, which means that it doesn't mean that it's a good code, because usually open source projects are pretty well written, but it doesn't mean that it's automatically well done code or well written code when Copilot suggests it for you. So this is what I said before. Or maybe you can try and find different ways to achieve things, or things like that. This is the main limitations. The main boundaries at the moment are the languages that the tool has been trained on, which I mentioned before is like Python, Ruby, PHP, I guess not JS. It works, or it used to work at least, on other languages as well, but not as well. Question about the cost of Codespaces. Is that based on how long we run it, or we have to manually shut down the VM it creates? So it's based on the actual usage, or let me say, it's based on the actual active state of the code space. The code space can be put to sleep, and this is when you stop paying for the compute. As soon as you activate it and you use it, you pay for it. One thing that I haven't shown you, because I don't have access to that right now, is that if you are in an organization or an enterprise cloud, you can select how many CPUs and how much RAM you want to have in your code spaces. So of course that means that you will pay based on how much resources you use. But again, if you disconnect to it, first of all, if you disconnect to it, it has auto sleep parameter, which I think is 15 minutes, if I'm not wrong, but don't quote me on this. And if not, you just put it to sleep and you stop paying. Different thing is that for the storage, if you save something, if you consume storage on the code space itself, then that you pay for that even if your code space is put to sleep. But I don't remember the exact price, but we talk about like cents of US dollars per gig or something like that. Hello, right? Create Skynet, yeah. If it learns on real code, can it use anti-patterns? Yes, it can. Depends on how many people have used that pattern or anti-pattern in their code. So as I mentioned, it's trained on hundreds of thousands of public repositories, open source repositories. So I think that most of the people don't use anti-patterns, or shouldn't use, especially in big projects, because there's a process of code review and so on and so forth. But that's one of the risks. So it could suggest you code that is not how you should write clean code or how you should write proper code. That's one of the limitations I was talking about before. So let me go back to the iPad. So at this point, we should have everything. Oh, sorry, my mouse is not on the right device. Okay, now we have it. And let me remove the pointer here. Yeah. So we should have everything we need here. So if now I try and again, let me open one of the controller, for example. If now I try to go here and debug this thing, it still doesn't work, which is pretty interesting, I would say. As I mentioned, I used to do this exact demo this morning, and I did this exact demo a couple of weeks ago for a client, and everything was working properly, but I'm really not sure why this is not working. Now, I don't want to start and debug this thing right now, but yeah. Demo effect, I guess. So let me remove from here. Right, what time do we have? It's 10:08 p.m. means that we are past the half-hour mark. Is there any other question? Any question about for example, customization of Codespaces or anything like that, feel free to ask. And I'll take a sip of water again. Is Copilot a competitor of Tab9? I actually don't know Tab9, so I'm not sure if it's a competitor or not. What I know is Copilot is the first implementation using the OpenAI APIs and et cetera, et cetera. Oh, and there is a cable in the shot. Sorry for that. But I don't really know the Tab9 service or product, so I can't answer on this, unfortunately. I'll look into it and I'll let you know. All right. Any other questions? If not, I think we can close this here. I think there's not many viewers today, and the demo didn't really work as I was hoping it to. Again, sorry for that. This is the beauty of the live streamings, right? All right, so if there's nothing else, I would say we could close it here. I really want to thank you for being here with me tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning. I'm not sure where you are. Remember that my usual live streaming time is on the Tuesday evening here in Hong Kong. Then depend on your time zone, but I'll be back on that schedule from next month. And stay tuned, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, stay tuned for the next week's video, because it's the biggest collaboration I've ever had on my channel. There's other 4 awesome creators and DevOps experts that have accepted to collaborate with me on that video, so I'm super excited for you guys to see it. Oh, we do have another question. It's if I describe structure, Copilot create class, for example. What would you define? What do you what do you mean by structure? You mean like a pseudocode in comments? That it should do that. Yes. All right. So thanks for you guys for being here, and I hope to see you next time. Hit the like button below this video if you like it, even though nothing worked. This is the beauty of live streaming. And I see you next time here on the channel. Bye.